They discovered it, they read it, and they applied it. It's the golden thread that connects the titans of the self-development industry, the source that spawned millions of millionaires, the original blueprint to success.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Think and Grow Rich.
Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. It's a classic. A classic.
And I love Think and Grow Rich. I love it. It's right here. I mean, it's one of my favorite books of all time.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
It takes a burning desire, a vision, a goal.
If you are considering joining a program where you get to learn how to affect someone else's life, there is absolutely no better institution than the Napoleon Hill Institute to help you get to that next level.
We are on a mission. We are on a mission to transform lives all over the world. Our goal is to impact billions of lives and to disrupt the self-help and personal development industry.
Join us at the Napoleon Hill Institute, and let's change the world together.
Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to Millionaire Coach Secrets. I'm Scott Edwards. I'm one of the principal teachers here at the Napoleon Hill Institute. And I've been thinking a lot about what we're going to cover today. And these really are the secrets for the top coaches out there. You know, this business that the Napoleon Hill Institute didn't actually exist this time last year. And it's one of the biggest and fastest growing self-development companies in the world today. And I've been talking a lot to Cleona, our CEO, who's put together an amazing presentation. And we're going to go through all of the main secrets. So I want to bring on Cleona, if she's here with us, if Lillian can put Cleona on the screen. Here we go.
Hey,
Cleona.
Hey, Scott. Hi. Welcome, everyone. Wow, I'm so grateful to be here. I'm so grateful to be with you, Scott. I just love working with you. Today's going to be an amazing session. I'm just going to speak from my heart and give as much information away as possible to help all of you that are here today watching.
Yeah. Well, we've my mind just goes back, Cleona, to when we planned this out, and we literally took a pen, a big piece of paper, and planned all of this out. And I'm just amazed every time we do this. This is literally in physical form. And it didn't take that long. So I'm really excited, Cleona, what you've got for us today, and I'm just really looking forward to it.
Yeah, why don't we start there? So a little background about Scott. He's so humble. You know, Scott and I work together. We started the company together, and just like Scott said, we literally mapped out the Napoleon Hill Institute on a big sheet of paper, like a big notepad. I don't have it right here. I was looking for it. It's packed away because I'm moving. And me and Scott wrote out the vision of the Napoleon Hill Institute department by department. We mapped it all out. When was that, Scott? It wasn't that long ago.
So it was around November, December last year, yeah. And
Yeah.
we sat on the top of the world. Literally, we were on floor 101, 30 Hudson Yard in New York City. And what a perfect place for doing something. And so the first tip I'd recommend to everyone, if we're giving tips away, is go somewhere special. The better the place you are, the more open your mind is, the more you have the ability to think outside the box. And that's what's so great about New York, or, you know, being up there. It allowed us to think. Especially having that big piece of paper like we did as well. That's one of the main things I think people should do. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great advice. We went to a beautiful restaurant with a rooftop, and we just mapped out this vision. And Scott, a little background about Scott. I can speak for you if you're so humble. Scott worked with Bob Proctor for many years. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit of your background, and how did we attract each other? How did this even happen? I mean, I'm going to bring you through my story here in a moment, which is all true, step by step, of what we created. One of the fastest growing coaching companies in the world. How we did it, I'm going to show you. But Scott, tell them, how did we meet? Tell them a little bit about you for the new people.
Yeah, well. Just so you know, me and Cleona found a DVD called The Secret at exactly the same time, but we didn't know each other back then. It was 2007. I was 13 years old back then. I found this DVD called The Secret. This guy comes on the screen when I was 13 years old and tells me that I can have anything I want. And this is what, and remember, 2007 feels like such a long time ago. I visualized I was going to work for this guy. 10 years after I watched The Secret, I decided I was going to work for this guy. And I just visualized it. One of the secrets from The Secret of the guy of to work with the guy from The Secret is to use The Secret. This is what a lot of people don't know, is that the main secret is visualizing what you want, and it's as simple as that. I always people ask me how do you actually how do you actually do this? You know, you talk about all this stuff, and I just say visualize it, see yourself with what you want. And that's what me and Cleona were doing when we were thinking about this new company in the Napoleon Hill Institute. This book, my mentor read this book for 61 years. And the investigation of just knowing and seeing how this material works, we wanted to go right back to the source. And then so me and Cleona ended up working for the same company. And then before you know it, she phones me. She phones me. I had a goal of getting back into the industry after I left a few years ago. I left to go back home to England. I wanted to buy my own house. Um, and basically set everything back up after everything happened with COVID. And Cleona phones me and tells me that she is now setting up a company with Napoleon Hill, the Napoleon Hill Institute. So what we're really doing is diving into the source of the knowledge, the source of all the information with Napoleon Hill. So again, what we're basically doing here, and when Cleona comes back on, we're going to dive into the secrets of how we did this, how we took this idea of teaching this information all over the world, going back to the source of the original information and bringing that to the masses. And that's what we want to do. Our goal at the Napoleon Hill Institute is to impact 8 billion lives. And we actually wrote this down. We went to another nice place. We went to the Bahamas, and we were writing out the mission statement and the true goal of the company. And it was not a money goal. This was about impacting people all around the world. Now, what was really interesting when we wrote this goal down, and when Cleona comes back, she can fill in the other side of the story. But when we wrote this goal down, we had no idea how we were going to do it. Now, when we wrote down what we wanted the company to look like, we had massive sheets of paper, and it's really good for planning out when you've got a massive piece of paper, because everything that comes to mind you write down on the piece of paper. But one of the main secrets was we never wrote down a strategy. We never wrote down a plan. We had no plan of how we were going to do it. And we never even had anyone in mind of who we could think of that was going to help us with all these different things we needed to be done. Every single person in the Napoleon Hill Institute, every member of staff, every master coach, every lead coach, we attracted them. We never had a strategy of reaching out to anyone. We never even did a recruitment advertising for any of the positions that we had at the Institute. We attracted everyone at the perfect time. There were people who ended up just being at the same holiday resort that we were at when we were flying all over the place, and everything meshed perfectly together. Now, the one of another secret for those of you making notes is when you meet the right person, when you come across the right opportunity, you will feel it. And when you feel it, you will feel as if it's right. It's almost as if like gears are meshing together, or the way you close the lid on like a really tight jar. You know that feeling where it just fits. it fits, and you just feel that synchronicity. And that's all we were going off. We weren't going off any strategy. We weren't going off any plans. We weren't even going off any advice. It was just purely on whether it felt right. Can you explain a bit more about that, Cleona?
Yeah, everything happened so fast, and you're right. We didn't have a definite plan. We have plans now, of course, um, but everything fell into place. I'm going to walk you through step by step what I did, because I think it's important for you to understand anyone can do this. Anyone can do it. I don't care where you're from. I don't care what your background is, what country you're from. Anyone can do this. There are laws and principles at work. When you study them and you apply them, it works. And yes, one of our amazing Facebook users or followers here has just posted in the comments, the universe loves speed. And you, whoever that is, I can't see your name, my friend. I'd love to know your name, but the universe does love speed. God loves speed. And you'll hear me say God, and if you know, that's my name for this great power that we have access to. God, my God loves speed. The universe loves speed, whatever you believe in, okay? Because we're here, we're not here for a long time, right? Human life is not that long. I plan to live till I'm over 100, which is amazing, and I will. And I'll be very healthy on the way. But why go slow? People say to me, how did you do it so fast? How did you do that so fast? I'm going to walk you through my story. And then at the very end, I'll give you what I believe is the most important secret, okay, to all of this. It's my personal belief through experience, through trial and error. I'm going to give you what I think is the most important secret, okay? And so, Scott, I'll bring you back up, my friend, because I'm gonna need your help, and I would love to, go a little deeper. Scott has been studying this for years. He was trained directly by Bob Proctor, sitting next to him for, I think, over 3 years. And I'm going to give you a little bit of my background as well. Okay. So I want to start with, and some of you may know my story already, but I think it's important to go back over it, and especially for the new people. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is a little bit of my background and about the book that completely changed my life. Not only changed my life, I can put my hand on my heart and say it saved my life. This book, Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, has saved my life. So I grew up in Northern Ireland from very humble beginnings. I was raised with my grandparents and then my grandmother. My grandparents broke up when I was around 10 years old. And this is where I grew up. This is the home that I lived in. It was a tiny little 2-bedroom, what was called a bungalow in Ireland, government housing. We had very little money. My grandmother, God bless her, Peggy, I love you. Even saying her name, I get a little emotional. She's my angel. She raised me and my sisters, and she did the best she could. She would earn about 150 pounds a week. And she would come home. This was our little bungalow. She'd bring her little paycheck, and it was in a little brown envelope, and it was cash, 150 pounds or so. And she would divide it up and say, this is for the electric, this is for the food, this is for this is for that. And then whatever was left over, she would split it between me and my sisters. And what a woman she was. What a woman. She was born into wealth, my grandmother. She was actually born into wealth. She and her family, she inherited businesses, stores, property, but she lost everything. She lost absolutely everything. So she went from having even servants growing up. She never learned to cook or clean. That was another funny thing about my grandmother. She didn't even know how to boil an egg. So she didn't teach me how to boil an egg either. I know how to do it now. But my grandmother, no matter what she went through, she lost everything. she had such a difficult time in her life. She decided to go work her first job, and she was cleaning toilets for a living. The woman that raised me, my beautiful grandmother, Peggy, and she cleaned toilets for a living. She woke up every day like clockwork, 7 a.m. in the morning. She walked 5 miles to work. She had to clean public toilets and walk all the way home, and then she would divide our money up between us. And so I watched that woman. But what was so beautiful about my grandmother, and I should have put a picture of her next time I will, she was a lady. She never complained. She held herself with a high standard. She had grace. She made sure she was dressed up every day. She put her makeup on. She dressed well. She carried herself well, no matter what was going on. And so this is part of what we teach. She did not show the outside world what was going on. So that's a little background about me. And I decided as an adult, well, I was only 18 years old, I said, I'm gonna move to New York. I'm gonna move to New York. I'm gonna go after the American dream. My mother left Ireland. She went to go after the American dream, and I followed her. And for about 7 years, we didn't get along in the beginning, me and my mother. I love her now. She's one of my best friends. But for about 7 years, I was 18 years old. I was lost in New York City. I was at what you would call a drifter. And a drifter is someone who has no goals. I was lost. I blamed the outside world for everything. I did not take any responsibility for my own actions. I had no money. Again, no money. I was drifting through life. I was getting evicted from my apartment in New York, and I ended up in an abusive relationship. So for about 7 years, I really struggled, folks. I really, really struggled, and I suffered. And then one day, as Scott was talking about earlier, I found the movie The Secret, just like this on the screen. I'm hoping you see this. I found a disc outside a bathroom in New York City. And the disc said, The Secret, just like that on Sharpie. I took the disc home. It was at my, and a little bit of the story before that night. I was completely broke, and I was praying to God, and I said, God, there has to be a better way to life than this. And that's when I got an invitation to go out that night, and I found The Secret. I took that movie home and I watched it over and over and over. And that's when I was introduced to Think and Grow Rich. And that's when I was introduced to Bob Proctor, who was studying Think and Grow Rich for over 60 years. And so that movie changed my life, which led me to the book that saved my life. And so as you see here, Andrew Carnegie gave this assignment to Napoleon Hill. Okay, this book was written, the original, in 1937. And this is the correct book on the screen. Okay, so Andrew Carnegie, one of the wealthiest men in the world. I love Andrew Carnegie. Not only was he one of the wealthiest men in the world, I admire him. I aspire to be like him. He was one of the most giving men in the world. And because of him assigning Napoleon Hill, who went out and spent over 20 years, I was able to find The Secret. I was able to find Think and Grow Rich. So I started applying these principles. I started studying every day, everything I could get my hands on about our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, how the mind really works. Why were my results so bad? Why was I still broke? Why was I in abusive relationships? And that's when I realized it was my programming, my subconscious programming. So I went on a mission. I said, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to change everything. And then I started to see results in my own life. I started making money. I started a business. I opened a little call center, And I had around 35 to 45 employees at one time. And life was getting better and better and better. And I knew it's because of the material. I was applying what I was learning. So around 2014, I believe, I had a baby. I had my beautiful daughter. I got married. I had a baby. I made a decision. I said, what is it that I really, really want to do? And I made a decision. I loved my business and I loved working with the people in my business. I cared more about my employees growing and their personal growth than I did for the actual business, which was in healthcare. So I made a decision in 2014 approximately that I was going to tap into my purpose. And that's when I decided I'm going to devote the rest of my life to bringing Think and Grow Rich and these principles to as many people as possible. I made a committed decision because it changed my life and it saved my life. This led me. So how do you change your programming? Somebody's asking. There's two ways to change your programming. One is through an emotional impact. Sometimes people have an emotional impact. They might have an accident. They might have a major loss of some kind, and they will have an immediate shift in their programming. They'll start acting different. They'll start being different. The other way is what we teach, which is through constant repetition of study. So repetition of study every day, the same thing on repeat, and auto suggestion. And so we coach people, we teach them how to change their programming. For me, it took months, but now I know how to speed it up. And so I made a committed decision that I was going to teach people how to change their programming, because at the end of the day, your results are a reflection of your programming. You see, I brought all my programming with me from Ireland. I brought my poverty consciousness from Ireland because that's all I knew. It's how I was programmed. I had no confidence. I brought that programming with me. And I made a conscious decision, committed decision. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to do whatever my mentors tell me to do. I'm going to become coachable. I'm going to study this book the way that Bob Proctor studied this book. I did exactly what my mentors told me to do. And I made a committed decision. I'm going to start my own coaching business. I sold everything. I had a good chunk of money in the bank. I could have done anything. I could have just sat back and had a good time and traveled the world for a while. But instead, I had this calling, this definiteness of purpose. I must give this back to the world. I cannot keep this to myself. I'll do whatever it takes. I get up every day and I say, who can I help today? Who can I serve today? And so I started a coaching business, and I started with Bob Proctor, who had studied the material for over 60 years. I set a goal. I was brand new in the coaching industry. Remember that, okay? I had no background in coaching, and I got specialized knowledge. I learned how to be a coach. I set a goal. I created a burning desire, and I had a no matter what attitude. And I wanted to live in New York City, and I wanted to provide a beautiful life for my children. That was my goal. That was my burning desire because of where I was from. I said, I'm going to create a beautiful life for me and my children. I always had a dream that I wanted to live in New York City, live in a luxury apartment. And that's exactly what I did. I followed the principles. I did what my mentors told me. And so here's what I did. I'm breaking it down for you, okay? I call it, well, Napoleon calls it PPA. I defined my purpose. My purpose is to spread this material to the masses all over the world and improve billions of lives, because I know for a fact it works. So I had my definite major purpose, PPA, purpose, plan. I got a plan. I got specialized knowledge. I invested in a coaching business They trained me from A to Z. They told me what to do. I did exactly what I was told while studying every day to become a product of the product. And as I did that, my confidence grew and everything changed. And I moved into action. Okay. I knew that I had to move into action. And not only did I move into action and say, oh, I'm going to be a coach and I'm going to help people. You see, I do things a little bit differently. And I do recommend you do the same. Don't settle for doing things just good enough. I made a decision and I'm going to do it great. I'm going to do it big. I'm going to do it bigger than ever. So I highly recommend you all, when you're thinking about your life, think bigger. Think bigger than you've ever thought before. And I promise you, you will attract the how when you think bigger. It takes the same amount of energy to think big as it does to think small. So why don't you all start thinking bigger? And that's what I did. I said, I'm going to be one of the best. I said, I'm going to be one of the best. I'm going to be a great coach. I'm going to go to the top of the organization. And that's what I did. One of the things I think I've done really well, and maybe Scott, you want to come up here and we can talk about it, because I don't want to, I'm not here to brag about me. But I do know I have a special gift in one area that Scott always compliments me on. I'm going to talk about it just so that it may help somebody. But I do believe I've mastered overcoming adversity. Like every day, like even today, there was adversity in my life this morning. Something happened that could have really shook me to not be on this webinar today with you. And there was legitimate things happening that really could have distracted me today, right? Can we talk a little bit about that? What is it? You always say to me that I have this ability. I want to help people understand how important it is.
Well, I'd put it a little bit differently, Cleona. You know, I was talking to a friend just this morning, and I was saying that the main thing we need to do is master control over our vibration. It's over our emotional state. And just as we were talking last year, just before we started this, when we were doing the self-confidence camp, which was a non-profit we were doing together, I said to Cleona, I said, one of the main things you have more than anyone I know is the ability to control your emotions. And that's what the secret missed out. That was the secret of the secret. How do you control your emotions? How do you do that? How do you think positively and feel positive when there's so much negative stuff going on around you? And I've seen this with you, Cleona, all the time. And it's one of the main things that I question Cleona on. I bring this up all the time. It's one of the main things Bob Proctor was very good at. I used to say with Bob Proctor, literally a hand grenade could go off in the garden and he wouldn't look up from his laptop. He wouldn't look up from the book he was studying, you see. It's this willpower. It's this ability to be able to block out everything on the outside because the picture on the inside is so clear and so vivid that matters more than what's going on the outside. I think it's having that purpose, Cleona, that gives you that faith and that ability to come over to overcome adversity. What do you think about that?
Yes. I'm actually gonna go deeper into that. But yes, I think when you have a true, definite, major purpose and you know why you're on Earth and what you're supposed to be doing, you can't hide from it. It takes over you. It doesn't matter what's going on the outside for me through my senses, what I hear, and what I see. It doesn't matter because I have a definite major purpose. I have to go back to my definite major purpose always. That's more important than the adversity that's happening around us. And you will, as you move through if you're going to become a coach, or you are a coach, or you're just growing your business, or you're moving up the ladder, whatever it is you want to achieve in your life, you have a definite major purpose. Make that your priority. Yes, Scott, I would agree. And also I think my faith, because my faith is so strong. I have evidence. How did I go from Northern Ireland in complete poverty and now I'm living this beautiful life? I have so much faith. I have so much to be grateful for. And we've talked about this. Even if I lost it all tomorrow, it's okay because I know how to get it back. We have the principles of Think and Grow Rich. We know how to do this. You see? So it's also an attitude, right, Scott? It's an attitude of mind. No matter
And
what's going
and what you were saying, Cleona, that's exactly what I was talking about. Is that it's that faith, the ability to be that strong, is because of the faith. The faith is the foundation of what you're doing. It's not. What you're doing is an effect, but faith is the foundation. Faith is the cause of that behavior. So yeah, it's 100% right. I'll give you an example. If fear was your foundation, you'd be getting the opposite results. Remember, faith and fear, the opposite side of the same thing. You see, a lot of people have fear as their foundation. They're living from a point of scarcity, which means that they have no faith, which means that they don't have that emotional control. If you're listening to this call right now and you think you lack that emotional control, that is your answer right there. Is that you're living in fear rather than faith. And Cleona's done a whole lesson. Once you're inside the Napoleon Hill Institute, we have a whole lesson on how Cleona developed this faith. It's something that I've studied over and over again. This faith in a bigger purpose, this faith in a higher power that's actually controlling everything. That we don't quite understand how it works, but we get a little bit better understanding it every day. But yeah, I love that, Cleona. It's one of the main things I learned over the last year.
Yeah, yeah. It is. I say it's my secret sauce, right? Lean into my faith. Lean into my faith. Lean into your faith. Okay? Lean into your faith. I was able to grow in faith through obviously repetition of study and then also the evidence in my life and the evidence in other people's lives as we watch our clients' lives transform within months. There's the faith right there. I see it. I had a client text me the other day. He had a big goal to get I think it was $1 million commission. And there it is. Faith, faith, faith. You can't deny it. Faith is everything. Faith is everything. I have a choice. You have a choice to lean into the fear or lean into faith and hold the faith for what it is that you want. And that's what I'm really good at that. I'm getting better at it. And then the next item on the list, I was reverse engineering what I was doing, Scott. I kept a positive mental attitude. And even now with adversity happening, keep a positive mental attitude no matter what. No matter what. I have faith things are going to turn around. I have faith things are working out for me. This is something that you must adopt. Make it a habit to think this way. Okay. I also got a really solid morning routine as I was growing my coaching business, a morning routine that works, which is getting up earlier than most people, getting up around 5 a.m. Okay. And studying and writing out my goal. I call it communing with my goal. So this is what I recommend you do. So I bought a little journal. Okay, not little, it's actually pretty big. but it feels like it's one of those older, papers. It feels older, it feels a little bit ancient, and it's just plain paper. And it has a lock so I can lock it. So it feels special to me. It feels a little bit sacred to me. So when I write my goal out every day, I write it out 9 times in present tense. I call it communing with my goal. I write out what I'm asking for and what I'm giving thanks for in present tense. And I do it it's a communion with my goal. This is what I'm asking the universe for. This is what I'm asking God for. And I really am so grateful because I know this goal must move into form. So when you're writing your goal, don't just write it to write it and check off a list in your morning routine. It's a communion. It's that goal is one of the steps that's bringing you onto your definite major purpose. It's part of the plan, your soul's purpose. So this goal is very important to me because it's one of the steps on that map of who Cleona is supposed to become, right? It's only one of the steps. When I achieve that goal, there'll be another one. But it's all part of the master plan of my Cleona's soul's purpose. And it goes the same for all of you. So I highly recommend that you get a powerful morning routine. Wake up early, commune with your goal, do auto suggestion, repeat your goal in the mirror with enthusiasm, say it in present tense, just like Napoleon Hill taught us, and get connected. I study every day. I spend multiple hours a day studying because this is what we do. We teach every day. We have classes every day, live sessions at the Napoleon Hill Institute. So we're studying every day, multiple hours per day, right, Scott? I don't even know how many hours.
It gets to the point, Cleona, where you kind of lose track. The same way you lose track having fun, you lose track studying this information. I don't even call it studying. I call it playing with the information. I just love playing with it. I love trying to figure it out. Every time we have a call with one of our coaches and they present us with a complicated problem, I love figuring it out. I love figuring out what's going on. And what I love more than anything, Cleona, is when you see them change. When you give someone a piece of information and they change almost overnight, especially when they come back. The best thing now, in the times we're living in now with Zoom and everything else, is that everything's recorded. We have footage of some of our coaches almost a year ago in the self-confidence camp, just saying things like they felt like giving up, they didn't feel like doing it, and now they're just massively successful. And the comparison, you can go back and actually see the footage. You'll be able to do this. This is the biggest kick: is seeing how seeing the transformation that happens in front of your eyes. That's one of the best things about this business.
Oh, I love that you said that. Especially for you coaches, you get this, you get that. The greatest gift, and it's called psychic income. Yes, you earn a lot of money as a coach if you do it right and you give a good service. But it's not even about the money. I live a great lifestyle. That's okay. But it's the psychic income. It's that feeling of I've helped someone today. I've changed that person's life. They now get it. They get that they are responsible. They are the creator of their own reality. And through these principles, your life changes no matter what. You got to do the work. You got to be consistent. It won't happen overnight, but you have to be consistent and you have to do repetition of study. You have to surround yourself with people that are aligned with what you're doing, that also study this type of material, or otherwise you'll go back out and you'll drift, right? So, Scott, do you want to talk a little bit about drifting and your experience with drifting, and just teach everyone what that means?
Well, the most important thing about drifting is that if you are drifting, you won't know it. And a lot of people will justify drifting with saying, I'm just going with the flow. I'm just taking it easy for a while. I'm just chilling. So many people my age say, I'm just chilling today. No, what they're actually doing is drifting. James Allen, who's Napoleon Hill's mentor, Napoleon Hill used to study a guy called James Allen. I'll give you a little bit of history in this, actually. So Earl Nightingale, who recorded the narration of Think and Grow Rich, would call Napoleon Hill up and he'd say to Napoleon, "Who did you study?" He studied Robert Collier, James Allen, and he actually, if you read Think and Grow Rich, you will find segments of As a Man Thinketh by James Allen inside Think and Grow Rich. And inside As a Man Thinketh, James Allen writes that aimlessness is a vice, and such drifting must not continue if you are to steer away from destruction. So think about that: destruction and catastrophe. Catastrophe and destruction. That's what he wrote. So those of you who trying to evaluate whether you are drifting, ask yourself how much destruction is in your life, how much chaos is in your life. That's how you can tell whether you are drifting. I remember saying to Bob one time, I was going through a hard time when COVID was happening. I think everyone was going through a hard time, especially from Bob's perspective. He didn't do another seminar after COVID happened, and I said to him, "What was so good about having this goal working for you is that when I was distracted by anything, it never got to me. I was so focused on my goal that any distractions that came up in my environment, I never focused on them." James Allen said that when you don't have that purpose, when you don't have a goal, you will fall prey to petty worries. Think about that. Petty worries. Those people who have those worries that are really petty, those people who get annoyed really easily, they have petty worries. Why is that? Because they've got nothing to focus on. They've got a goal. If you've not got a goal to focus on, you will fall prey to petty worries. Another thing is as well, you'll get so distracted by the news. That's another symptom. Those people who are so obsessed, oh, what's going on with Trump or what's going on with this in the news or that in the news, it's because they don't have that goal. I don't think Bob Proctor ever watched the news. And then I said to myself, well, I'm never going to watch the news ever again. It's simple as that. If something important happens, someone's going to tell me about it. It's as simple as that. I'm so focused on my goal and what we're doing here at the Napoleon Hill Institute. I don't care what's going on. You see? Now that's part of being a non-drifter, is that you have this conscious idea, this vision in your mind that you're seeing, and that's where you're going. It's the rudder of the ship. It also gives you more drive as well to have that. You see, the drifter has no rudder and no drive, and you'll see it. You know people who are doing it. That's how you'll see it. You'll see it by their actions, not what they're saying, but by what they're doing. Would you say that was
Yes,
yeah.
yes. That's a perfect description. And it's sad because I know a lot of people in that place and they don't know. And you're right, you'll know by your results. You'll know by your results in your life. And it's the program operating, the subconscious program, right? And so again, it goes back to this definite major purpose. Definiteness of purpose, that it keeps going back. There's a pattern here, right? There's definitely a pattern here. And I think even when I look back at like the way Bob would teach, the way Napoleon Hill teaches, it's always the first lesson. And so now I finally figured out why they want you to understand your purpose first and get a goal is to get you off that path of drifting. That's why it's the first step of any transformation, is to get you off the path of drifting. Look at any coaching program, personal development program, the first step is always that: get a goal or a definite major purpose. Yeah, so that's really what I did. I set off on this mission. I had a purpose, plan, and I moved into action. I created a coaching business with obviously the leadership of Bob at the time. I said, I'm going to do exactly what they tell me to do. I had a burning desire. And then I accumulated specialized knowledge. And this is what Napoleon put in the book, Think and Grow Rich. It has its own chapter. And Napoleon traveled the world, getting knowledge and acquiring knowledge from the most successful people in the world. And Andrew Carnegie set him off, introduced him to many of the greats so that they could create this philosophy of human potential and the science of personal achievement. We are so blessed that this was handed to us. 20 years of research, organizing it, specialized knowledge, and it was handed to us in that book, Think and Grow Rich. And that's why so many millions of lives have changed because of that book. And so I decided to follow in his footsteps. I knew when my mentor passed, and I knew then I had to follow in his footsteps and do exactly what he did. I said, what did Bob do now? I need to carry the torch. And that's what me and Scott are doing. We're carrying a torch because we saw the difference he made in so many lives. We're carrying a torch. This information is available. So we knew, and I knew I need to carry the torch. This is my purpose. If Bob studied Napoleon Hill for 60 years, I'm going to do the same. And what do you say, Scott? You always say, what is your definite major purpose about this material?
Well, that's the thing, Cleona. Like what I wanted to do right from the beginning, my C-type goal. This is my main goal and my main purpose. A lot of people think it's a bit strange, but I just love it. I want to understand every single thing there is to understand about the human mind. And a lot of people say, well, it's non-physical. How can you possibly know that? That's why it's a good goal. You see, the more you understand about your mind, the more you're going to take control over your life, because your life is your mind. Your subconscious mind is controlling the vibration you're in. You see, and talking about this book used to be on Bob's desk. It was actually Bob's brother, Al Proctor, who bought it for him in 1963. So it's exactly 60 years old now, that black book. And he had it bound in Morocco leather as a birthday present for Bob. And I would hold this black book that Bob would have, and he studied it for 61 years. Now, when Bob passed away, I said, I'm going to study it for 61 years. Now, I'm going to be exactly 90 when that deadline comes up, and I'm going to study it every day for 61 years. And then what happened was Cleona phones me up and says, I am starting a company with Napoleon Hill. Now, think about this. I attracted this to me. You see, I didn't go out searching for Napoleon Hill. He came to me. And this is what's going to happen for you. You're not on this call by accident. You're not on this webinar by accident. There's something about this that you need to look into. And if you haven't booked a call yet with someone, that's just the next step of what you need to do. There's nothing to lose. You just book a call, talk to someone in our team about coming on board. Talk to someone on this team about how you can personally affect and impact this industry, because every single person has an idea, has a specific, unique way of communicating this information. And this is how we're going to get to 8 billion people, because everyone's going to do it. I want everyone to start teaching this. Imagine what kind of a world we'd live in if everyone taught this information. This is what my purpose is. This is what I want to do. 8 billion people. It's gonna seem like such a small goal by the time we get closer to it. At the time when we set it, it was a C-type goal. It was a complete fantasy. It's getting to the point now where we know that we can do this.
Yes, it's starting to move into a reality. We had no idea how, and we just knew what we wanted. And I will give the rest of my life, just like you, Scott, we'll give the rest of our life to sharing and teaching this material, because there's no other way to live. I bumped into a beautiful woman the other day at a restaurant, and she was by herself here in New York City, and I could tell she walked in. She was very corporate, but she was stressed. She was shaking. She put her stuff down on the counter, and she's like, oh, what a day. And I just felt her vibration, and I thought, oh man, I don't miss those days at all. I don't miss that corporate stress. And I just looked at her, and I could just feel her. My heart went out to her, and I said, are you okay? She's like, oh, I just had such a rough day. And I finally got her to open up and talk to me, and I helped her through what she owns this major corporation. She's the CEO of a corporation in New York, and she was dealing with some contracts, and she was getting all stressed out. And I said, well, what are you afraid of? She's like, well, I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of that. And I said, no, what are you really afraid of? And I said, there's 6 ghosts of fear. She said, what is that? I said, well, Napoleon Hill teaches us there's always the root cause is back to the 6 ghosts of fear. And then the more I spoke to her, then I was able to help her understand she had a root fear of poverty. She had a fear of, and she didn't even know it. Even though she's a wealthy, successful businesswoman now, she was afraid that she was going to lose a contract because of some other, company coming in. And it was back to the root cause, which was fear of poverty. And I showed that to her. She felt so relieved. I said, here's what you do. Write out how you want it to go, and only focus on that vision. How do you want this contract to go? And she said, well, I want it to turn out this way. I want it to turn out that way. I said, well, that's what you do. Put all your focused thought energy onto the way you want it to turn out. And I said, get a pen out right now. And she did. She wrote it out. And the relief, you could see the stress was just starting to drip away, because she's programmed. We are programmed to think about the fear. What if this? And the worry and the doubt. And what do we manifest? Whatever we focus on, whatever we give attention to, whatever we give energy to, whatever we get emotionally involved in. She was emotionally involved in losing this major contract for her business. I said, you better stop that right away. And so it was like this little impromptu coaching session at the restaurant, Scott. But it was it was a great reminder for me, because just like you, I don't watch TV. I don't really watch the news. I just stay focused on our purpose, because we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of people to help teach them this better way of life. I call it freedom. It's free thinking. We're not letting the program operate and run our lives this way. It was a great experience. So now I'm going to tap into some of the secrets that I use, and I know Scott does too, and he told you some of his story. So when I left and Bob Proctor was, had already passed on, I said, now what? I said, I'm going to follow in his footsteps. So I asked God for guidance. That was the first step. I said, God, tell me what to do. Again, I asked God, the universe, for guidance. Immediately, I had a hunch, which is an idea that falls into your mind and you'll feel it. I acted on my hunch, and my hunch was to contact the Napoleon Hill Foundation. Now, remember, I didn't know what I was going to do. Bob had passed on. I said, now what am I going to do? And I contacted the Napoleon Hill Foundation, and I followed the steps that I showed you before. I had a purpose, I had a plan, and I took action. I followed my hunches. All of you logical people that were, we were programmed to only tap into our logic and try and figure everything out the hard way. Become very, very clear on tapping into your intuition, following your heart. There's so much more power in your intuition than trying to figure it out logically. You're going to tap into the universal intelligence. You're going to get ideas. I had a hunch. I acted on it. I contacted Don Green, my good friend. I love you. I think you're on here today. And that man and I, we met. We knew we're going to work together. And then we created the first global coaching division for the Napoleon Hill Foundation. And we just launched in January, because I followed my hunch. I took action. Yes, the fear came in. Yes, that inner critic, that rascal, as Napoleon calls it, the rascal came in and said, well, why would he want to work with you? He doesn't know you. I heard that inner conversation. I said, no, I'm going to follow my hunch. I'm going to have faith. I'm going to meet Don Green. And I did. And now look what we've created in 6 short months. We have over 150 coaches worldwide in a couple of months, because we applied the principles that Napoleon left for us. And we serve from our heart. We operate by the law. Do unto others, the golden rule. Do unto others as you would want done unto you. It's so simple. It's so simple. And our mission here is to impact and improve and serve billions of lives globally. And so can you imagine we didn't follow the hunch, Scott? Can you imagine I didn't give you a call that day? And it happens, right?
Well, what's interesting as well, Cleona, is that Don Green, when you phoned him up, he was using exactly the same principles. He's been studying this book as well. He's been studying this. Don Green has been in business almost his entire life, and he said that he's never ever made a deal where it's gone south. In other words, he was involved with property. He's never had a foreclosure. He's never signed any kind of business deal where it's gone wrong in some way, because he's always following that intuition. I interviewed Don Green when we were in Wise, Virginia, and he told me his decision-making process. When he meets someone, he said when he met Cleona, he knew straight away that she was the person that was going to do this. You see, when you follow these principles, you can start living exactly the way that Bob Proctor was living, that Napoleon Hill was living, because they're giving you the information. All you need is the information of how to do it, and you can do exactly the same thing. It really is that simple. It really is. In fact, we have a video that we just recorded that explains how to determine whether it is your intuition giving you the message or whether it's the paradigm. Literally tells you how to go through and dissect where that message is coming from. As we start to put together these fragments of information, this is just how we start to win. Life gets a little bit better for us every time we do this, doesn't it, Cleona?
Life keeps getting better and better and better, and no matter what adversities come along, I know there's a seed of equal or greater benefit. And you can feel my belief there, because it is a belief. It's not just me talking, it's a belief, and therefore it is. You become your belief. Your life will become your beliefs. And that's the truth. And thank you, Napoleon Hill, for teaching me, especially that one that's really saved my bacon in so many ways. For every adversity, there's a seed of equal or greater benefit. I love that. Put that somewhere, put it in your car, put it on the back of your phone, put it when you're going through a hard time, my friends, you look at that and you believe it and you have faith, because life happens. Life happens. My success is not a straight line. It's up and down, and it's up and down, and it's the law of polarity, and it's the law of rhythm, but you ride with the wave of adversity. You just learn to ride with it, because you know something better is coming along. That's the truth. And so in April this year, I'm just so honored and grateful that we were able to have a founding celebration with our coaches and the Napoleon Hill Institute founding coaches. We got together in New York City in April, just a couple of months ago. And these are some of our coaches, and you'll see Don Green there and our amazing team and our coaches. We celebrated. We went to Andrew Carnegie's mansion. We were the first people allowed to go in to his library here in New York City on the Upper East Side, his mansion, Carnegie Mansion. And we brought the book back. We brought the Think and Grow Rich book back. We were the first people allowed in there, and we're the first people to bring the book back to the library where Andrew Carnegie gave Napoleon Hill the assignment. So this is all happening for us because we're operating by law. We're following the principles. And that's why it's truly, looking back at what we've created, I can't even express the gratitude and the amazement. So now I'm going to tell you the biggest secret that I believe from my perspective, the secret power that will set you apart from the working harder and the grinding method, because there's so many people doing it that way. Working harder, grinding it out. Work hard, I'll work an extra day. I'll work till I fall asleep at night. If you learn to tap into and ignite a burning desire, I guarantee you all, your life will change and you'll have quantum leap after quantum leap, like I'm experiencing and like Scott is experiencing. You must learn how to ignite that burning desire. We talked about it. There's over 95% of the world is drifting. They have no definite major purpose. We are out to help them. We're out to turn these drifters into free thinkers. Okay, here's some ways how to ignite a burning desire from my perspective. One Ensure your goal is big enough and that you get emotionally involved with the goal. 2, connect daily to the feeling of the goal achieved and use visualization. Close your eyes, see yourself there. Connect daily to the goal achieved. See yourself into the future. You've already achieved the goal. How does that feel? Maybe you're celebrating. You're saying, yes, thank you. I'm so grateful. If you tap into that feeling daily, I use music to evoke that emotion, that burning desire. Move your body, do whatever it takes to evoke the emotion and ignite a burning desire. But you have to do it daily. Do it daily. And another way to ignite a burning desire is to ask yourself, how much do you really want this? Is this just a wish, a want, or a hope? Or is it truly a burning desire? Ask yourself, why do you want this? Number 2. Number 3, what does it mean to you to achieve this goal? Or what does it mean to your family if you achieve this goal? You must create a major why. This is how I created a burning desire. I really tapped into why I want it, how important it is to me. And for you, Scott, what is your why? How did you tap into your burning desire?
Well, I tapped into it, Cleona, through curiosity. That's what motivates me. I just want to figure it all out. And what I could figure out, because I was born in an environment very similar to you, Cleona, where there was there's people with a lot more money than I had, and I kept asking the question why. I never stopped asking that question because of the curiosity. And what I found out through Bob Proctor and through Napoleon Hill, now the mentor of Bob Proctor, is that all we need is the information. We just need the way of doing it. The only thing that's stopping you right now from getting to your goal is the information of how to bridge the gap. It's just bridging the gap between where you are now to where you want to be. It's just information. Earl Nightingale says we suffer as individuals to the extent that we don't have enough information. Any time in your life you think about anything in the past where you suffered, you can go back and you know that if you knew more, if you just had the right information at the time, that wouldn't have happened and you wouldn't have suffered. That goes with everything. It goes with our future right now. So the more we study, the more we figure it out, the more we learn these principles, which he spent his whole life putting together. All we have to do is read them and understand them and then try them out. But that's it, Cleona. It's the curiosity of how much can we figure out? Can we figure out everything? That's what I want to do. I've got another 60 years until I'm 90. I have a feeling I can do it. I think I can figure out
I actually
everything
think
about the
you
mind.
can. I think you can, and you'll do it way before you're 90. I do.
Well, that's all I want to do. I just want to figure it out, and then I want to give it to everyone. That's what I'm going to do.
Yes.
Well, that's what I love about Cleona. It's the curiosity. It's not the motivation. It's not the drive to be more or to have more. It's just the figuring it out. I want to just I just want to find the answer. Yeah.
Yes. I love that about you. You're so curious for understanding, and it's a beautiful thing to watch because not everybody is. Yes. And you have such a heart for helping others. Like our coaches, the Napoleon Hill Institute coaches, I've never met a more beautiful, heart-centered group of people in my life. Never. And they're always serving. They're always going above and beyond. They're always doing charity work. So this is what set me apart. This is what will set you apart so that you don't have to work harder and grind it out, try and figure it out. If you activate a burning desire, when you have an activated desire, it ignites a flame that turns on willpower. This is so important because most people get going and then they quit. They get going and then they allow that inner voice to knock them off track. When you have a real activated burning desire, your will will turn on. The flame of will activate, and you will hold your focused attention onto your definite major purpose. Just like Scott said, no one on this planet will knock me off track. No one, nothing. They're going to have to bury me because I'm going all the way. That's my burning desire. It's activated in me. Can you feel it? And so if I have a low vibration day, stuff happens. I know I need to go activate my burning desire. I need to go do my work. I need to tap into my why. Why am I here? Am I here to play around? I'm here to change as many lives as possible. I tap into my burning desire. My will activates. I stay focused. I do the next right thing, and the how comes to me. And this is how I do it. You see, I got specialized knowledge. I didn't know how to be a coach. I didn't know anything about this material. So I purchased the knowledge. I invested in myself. I actually invested in myself to become a coach. And that's what I did. A burning desire is the first step. It's what you need. You'll get a burning desire when you know what you want and you're emotionally involved with your goal. And if you tap into that desire, my friends, if there's anything you ever hear me saying, please listen to me today. It will save you. What I did in 6 months, me and Scott and the team, would have took people years and years, and most people may not even follow through the way we did. It's because we know the secret. We know the secret. Get off that grinding mentality of working harder and tap into your heart of hearts, your burning desire. And it will move mountains for you. People will come and find you. You will attract clients to you. I have never paid for an ad. I have never paid for a Facebook ad. I've never done any of that internet marketing. I know it's great and some people are amazing at it. I've never had to, because I radiate and I emit this vibration. I'm living on my burning desire. I'm on a frequency, and I attract to me, just like Scott attracts to him, everything he needs and wants. So what I want to tell you is to make a decision. When you make a decision that you're going to achieve this definite major purpose, your soul's calling you and guiding you. Listen to your soul. Make a decision. When you make a decision, it'll put your mind onto the frequency of how. You will not understand how to do it until you make a decision. And I want to ask you to think bigger. Think really, really big. Think bigger. And then I want you to also think and grow rich. Think and grow rich. This is why we're here. If you feel a calling to become a coach with us, you would join our mission. Get in touch with whoever invited you here today. Get on a call with us. You can come join our tribe, our mission worldwide, and become a Napoleon Hill Institute coach. We will show you how to do it from the start. We will train you. We'll give you all the training to have a successful coaching business, because the leadership in this company, we are coaches. Okay. If you have a desire, get in touch with us. If you want to be coached by us or join our Think and Grow Rich coaching program for 9 months, get in touch with us. But if you, whatever it is that's on your heart, make a decision. Make a committed decision. But go back to what I told you today. It will save you years of trying to figure this out. Get a burning desire, my friends. Get a burning desire. And Scott, do you have any advice for everyone that's watching today? Any other advice?
Well, I was just thinking, Cleona, there was we did a call yesterday with all of our coaches, and they're all over the world. And we're always trying to think, what's the best time to meet for everyone all over the world? That's one of our biggest obstacles here at NHI. But there's one of our coaches, a guy called Sung, and he's from from Asia, from the East, and we have people all over the world. And he said a question that was related to environment. You see, the best thing about being a part of NHI is the environment that you're in. You are with all kinds of people who have the same purpose in mind. And just how we see people communicating and caring for each other, the call that we did yesterday was just magical. It really was, just because there was so much nurturing going on in the call. And I thought, how great is it that we're in this environment? When I moved to Canada and lived basically with Bob Proctor for 3.5 years, I was with him every day. Because of the environment I was in, that's when I changed. Just the way when you plant a tree, if it's not in the right environment, it's not going to grow. It's the same with human beings. If you're not in the right environment, you are not going to grow. And I just want to emphasize that, Cleona, because that is the last thing I want people to think about. Is, are you in the right environment right now? Would you like to be in the right environment? Do you want to just test it out? Why don't you just come and test it out? Why don't you just book a call with us, see whether it's right for you? You'll feel it. If it's right for you, you'll feel it. But just book that call and take the first step. We all had to take the first step one time, and it can be scary, but it pays off.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for that call that I made all those years ago. I wouldn't be here today. I made a committed decision. I got a burning desire, and our whole life has changed. My children are so happy. We just bought a new house. Thank you, God. And my children are going to have, their own bedrooms. They're going to be playing in the backyard. They're going to be, but this is all because I followed the principles. And you're right. Our NHI tribe, we're like a family. Like, I wake up every day and I think it's part of my family. This is how it is. And so there's something here for all of you. If you're watching this, it's not by accident. This is not a coincidence. You attracted us by law. Either you want to learn with us, you want to study with us. We have daily study programs. We have a coaching program. Or maybe you want to join this mission and help us globally impact and improve lives. And if your heart is telling you that that's something for you, please listen and follow your hunches just like I did. Follow your hunches just like Scott did. And I can see some of our coaches are here in the chat, and they're saying that we're a movement. We're a movement of lions, and we're living on purpose. Yes, we are, because we're leaders. And so I look forward to meeting you on one of our other calls or joining us here at the Institute. Book your call. We're going to be working all weekend to answer your questions, to serve you. There's something here for everyone, and we will make it very easy for you. You'll follow step-by-step instructions, and we're going to speed up the process because we've learned how to do it quicker. Okay? So thank you. Go back and watch the replay. Take notes. Follow my advice. It's going to save you years and years of study and experience. So thank you, everyone. I'm so grateful. Thank you, Scott. I love you. And thank you to all of our coaches that are on here.
Do you feel it? In the air, the trees, the earth. There is an awakening, a calling, a movement. It is your time. Remember who you are. Join us. Back to the source.
I will give you the master key with which you may open the door to the attainment of your desires, whatever they may be.
So I came to find that family, that tribe, and I absolutely found it, and I'm just thrilled because it's just the start. The seed's kind of just been sown and it's just sprouted.
It's just a starting point, a spark of something great that's going to impact the world globally. And I'm so grateful to be a part of this event because it's historical. We've had many organizations and institutes before, but it's something different and special about this one.
Everybody was just greeted with such open arms and with such great heart. The event, the things that we did, the activities we did, the meditations, the self-improvement mantras were just fabulous. It's life-altering, truly is.
The energy was high. It was incredible to meet the people that I'd seen on Zoom. And so it's just lived beyond my expectations.
I am in NHI because I believe in serving people and changing millions and billions of lives.
It was more than I anticipated, but beyond what I expected.
I love this material, Think and Grow Rich. I love coaching, and I want to serve people with this information.
And I've been studying Napoleon Hill's Laws of Success. I've listened to the Think and Grow Rich original movie where he comes on and he's, how do you do? You know, I've watched it time and time again. And so to see all of this manifest into this moment, to where we are the first people in over 120 years to have access to Andrew Carnegie's library, in addition to the events and all the enrichment and the energy, the pure energy and the joy that you see of the people that are here is nothing short of a magnificent romantic fantasy.
If you are considering joining a program where you get to learn how to affect someone else's life, like if that's a calling that you have inside of you, like if you feel that and you want to go out into the world and you want to actually go, I can help you, right? I've been through the trials and tribulations of growing myself and becoming the best version of me, and I'm still working on it every day. If you want that, like if that's a calling that you feel deep inside of who you are, if that's a calling that you feel, there is absolutely no better institution than the Napoleon Hill Institute to help you get to that next level. They are holding the keys to the Pandora's box of possibility, and it is going to be a tremendous journey. And if that is your calling, like if that's what people are after, then this is the exact right place at the exact right time for them to take it to a whole new level.
We are on a mission to transform lives all over the world. We're operating from a heart of service. We're operating from a heart with integrity. And we know that Napoleon Hill's material works.